selecting there. And yeah, if it goes in the opposite direction, a little bit more wild, you know, maybe the towers-ish style of maps, you know, those bigger ones.
Cursed.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to get out of control for GFE.
We do know the battleground.
You cheated, and I didn't.
We might be able to bring it up soon. Yeah, it all comes down to what Even and Death want to choose. They have been about 50-50 back and forth, but in this case, they still want first pick, so the choice of battleground goes to gForce eSports, and they do pick Cursed.
Cursed Hollow is where we're headed. Let's see what you got, Even and Death. I expect to see another Illidan from Homicidal. You know, see that kind of more offensive style of play. It's been working-ish for them. You know, it's kind of hard to describe because I feel like with Even and Death, to give actual analysis, a lot of it is very, very small things. Because obviously, when they aren't getting a good old, as I put it, the fat W at the end of the day, you know, they can't check that off. A lot of people just go, well, the win rate isn't there, so who really cares? You know, like that's obviously they aren't even close, but they very much are doing, again, those tiny, tiny things to be able to barely catch themselves up. On a larger map, I do think Homicidal on that hero is one of their best odds. Again, because the frequency of like if my opponent makes a mistake, I can punish is extremely high with that style of play.
Even and Death is very understanding of the situation that they're in and what they need to do to get better. They have been running that composition with their Illidan and Vala for as long as we have known them to be in HGC.
Even open.
Coming out of Open Division 2, right. So they know that they just have to play the same things that they are scrimming and doing well with its scrims, not get hasty, not get panicked, not try, I don't know, something, I would say Cho'Gall normally, but we're starting to see Cho'Gall, but you know, just something so wild and something that they haven't been scrimming. They're smart about this. They know where they need to improve and how they need to improve.
Very high Tassadar though, which is now going to maybe make gale Force fear that Illidan a smidge more. What are we going to see out of gale Force eSports? What do they want to commit to this high up? For gale Force eSports, and their priority has been a bit all over. Early on, it was rather rigid, very MSB-esque. But since it seems like more, I would argue a little bit more of the comfort from K1 Pro and Caffeine have kind of come in, what they like to see a little bit in their hero pools has adjusted GFE, and I don't feel like they've found a home yet.
Definitely a global of some sort seems to be consistent on Cursed Hollow. Either Abathur as of late or getting Dahaka once again. Dahaka has worked out so well for Michael Udall. It worked out well in the last game, so that's what I would be expecting.
Yeah. gale Force is a team that has always been so global focused, but then they had that small like 2-week period where they're dropping globals almost across the board, and now that Mike Udall has gone back to that off roll, it does feel like that has been the core for them. But instead, it's the Abathur, and there's the Illidan I was referring to before. I think that's really smart from gale Force eSports. If I was to judge like the power level that just took away from Even and Death in the odds in this game, I feel like it's very, very high. Just because not only those amazing picks in Synergistic, but with the tasks that are already prioritized for Even and Death, other than a task tracer, nothing applies that consistent force that can maybe make gale Force stumble.
Well, if Even and Death want an Arthas to deal with that Illidan, now would be the time to get it. They agree, they get Arthas as well as getting Dahaka as a counter global of their own.
What we want to see in the ban phase for gale Force eSports, a lot of supports are still onto the table, but they want to be picking up one of their own in the next phase. So if they were to ban one out, it's the one that they do not want to pick up for themselves. Other than that, though, it's got to be some kind of whoever that Tassadar hero might be. Again, Tracer is a focal point, but not necessary. We've seen a lot of teams flexing in different ways, so to the point where I feel like Tassadar isn't even really that heavy of an indication for anything. It's just kind of like whatever you want.
It could just as easily be Ariel and Vala once again.
Yeah. The main reason I like the Task Tracer removal is because we know, the Tracer Illidan, because the consistent DPS of the Tracer versus the Illidan only having temporary evasion, you can really get a lot of, awesome intertwining plays there from that. Brightwing ban, though, for Even and Death. Not going to let gale Force Akaface have his Brightwing.
Just Brightwing and Uther, even though Even and Death don't have their support, but because they have Tassadar, they have a lot of different, even more options than maybe otherwise, because he can help supplement with other supporting. But that is interesting to see that they're just like, we don't want to get overwhelmed with globals again from gale Force eSports. So Aka, you do not get your Brightwing.
We'll see where he ends up going here. Akaface has, again, had some of the more unique prioritization of supports compared to the rest of North America. When you have an Illidan, first thing that stands out, Uther. He's gone. Rhaegar's next on the list. And beyond that, the answer is whoever your heart desires, because nobody really stands out that much more than the remainder. You got to be considering the rest of the composition. Other things has got to be the frontliners. They're going to pair that with the Anu Barak. And there is their rotation.
Final 2 picks for Even and Death.
It's Lunara. I want a Lunara. Can I get a Lunara?
Sure. They played it last game. I don't see why not.
Or Cassia. Never mind. I want Cassia. I'll take me a Cassia. And I don't really even care the sport, I think.
Even and Death was one of the teams that were willing to ban Cassia in the mid-ban phase versus their Illidan. So it's, you know, they've got her on their mind at least.
They've at least got it on the mind. It would be a really good play. I mean, obviously, it would be
Cassia
very melee-centric. It would struggle a smidge in the damage department, but Dahaka, Arthas, and Cassia, it should be enough to be able to make up for it. The biggest thing is because Illidan and Abath are 2 resources of the draft of Gale Force committed to enable that, suddenly you can really kind of limit Fan. You know, he's not going to be as big of a problem, maybe, dancing around over the back line. And then even if he is, you have Arthas on top of it. It's a double counter, but they go with the Greymane, they go with the Malfurion here. Very, you know, just strong picks, generic picks, a little bit of synergy between the two. At least Tassadar is there to help for the anti-burst that Malfurion, we know, can begin to struggle with so well.
Trying to figure out what this last pick is. I think that's a Michael Udall Illidan.
It is.
And then K1 Pro's Abathur.
Which means we're Fan, right?
Yep.
So if I'm Fan, what do I want here? I've got a lot of beefcakes on the other side, quite a bit of healing. I've already got the Illidan composition and Anu Barak.
No Leeming again.
Are you sure? I think that's a Fan Illidan. I think this has to be, I don't know, maybe not. I guess you're right. It's most like, I don't know. I actually don't. I don't know. You're probably right. But I don't want you to be. Does that make sense? I really wish this would be
Why? Because
Fan.
you don't want me to be right, or because you
No, because I actually think
Fan
compositionally it makes the most amount of sense, and I want Fan on Illidan.
Of course, Falstad! Because they're Gale Force eSports and Globals, and there you go.
And K1 Pro, hooray! I never would have guessed another global to be picked up for Gale Force eSports. What is it? You giving the stank eye?
K1's playing Abathur.
You are right. Okay, sorry. Jesus, I just like...
Is he? I don't know.
He probably are.
No, Fan's playing Abathur. We're both wrong. No, you don't get to be right here. You said it was Fan Illidan.
Game. You were all like, yo, Dread, you're such a dingus. How dare you even think this?
You still were a dingus.
And then you ahead and goofed it too. It's like a double dingus. When you double dingus, it's a counter. You know, a double negative, it just nullifies the whole thing.
Double dingus across the sky.
Yeah, man.
Across the HGC. All right, Fan Abathur, Michael Udall.
Is going to be the Illidan.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I know. It just makes me sad. But it is K1 Pro on Falstad. And that was the part you came at me, made me sound like a dingus.
All right, I hear we've got something to show from Twitter at home, so let's check it out. You guys have been tweeting using your hashtag HGC. We want to know, who's your favorite warrior to watch? Is it Diablo? Is it Arthas, Anu Barak, or Dahaka? Please, I'm going to put it out there. Don't put Dahaka, because he's side-soaking.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
If I was to watch...
Diablo. Justing's Diablo all day. Easy answer. On Tomb, he's just like, shove it in, throwing him over, shoving him back the other way.
Is it...
I'm like doing all the...
Can I choose the heroic?
Sure, buddy. You could do whatever you
I think I
desires.
choose the Anu Barak Locust Swarm. I just don't like the Cocoon play. Because when he's in there and he has to have this weird line of like diving the back line but treading lightly with his HP, and like if he messes up, he goes down. It's kind of like Illidan-ish, right? And he's very cooldown focused. That for me is a lot of fun to watch.
Hello, Syndragosa, absolute zero.
Okay, Syndragosa Arthas is actually the best. You're right.
All right, we're ready to go in the game. Maybe we'll get Syndragosa this game. We'll have to see if Battery wants to pick that. We're heading into game number 2 between Gale Force eSports and Even and Death. We'll see if Even and Death can get a win and tie up the series.
No Illidan, though. It's going to be on the other side of the table. And again, I talked about why I feel like that's going to be able to pressure them out. The next go-to, though, if I was to put it on that list, would be Tassadar double supporting. So it's nice that Even and Death does have that resource for themselves.
The Gale Force eSports already back to playing their global game.
Yeah, hey. I'm going to be honest, Gilly. I don't want to say like this is a yes or no by any means, but I do question that if that's a good thing, that Gale Force is leaning back to that so heavy. If anything, it makes me very, very timid towards the future of Gale Force eSports, because they were very, very successful, but the minute teams kind of realized that and was able to pick away at it properly, it suddenly became easy to manipulate. And if you look at a lot of the iterations of Gale Force at the top of North America, they always had one thing until everyone figured it out. And so when they get this new resurgence, this new roster, and then they indicate to show past trends of committing to compositions that was, again, that it displayed like that, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I am hesitant to be hyped behind it.
I would echo your hesitance.
Okay.
If I thought that it was going to go further than this series.
Okay.
Their last series was versus a team that maybe are the best team fighters of all of North America at this point, Team Freedom. And now they're up against a team who I would say their best bet of being able to actually win a series is team fighting. Because they just don't feel like they have
you're right.
the macro
you're right.
decision-making at this point.
100% correct. This is by far the best chances.
You're right. So I would say that where it started with Team Freedom, and it's continuing on just so that even Death doesn't even get the chance.
Yeah. No, when you put it that way, I agree with it. Like, if it is a limited case and they go, even if Death has to win through team fighting, so they go, well, then we'll just split push against them. Fine. I am 100% on board. But let's say this carries over and we see it against to win, like, I don't know, if Gale Force had Team Freedom is the opponent right in front of them, and I was to see this, I'd be like, you know, I can understand why you go to that because it's feeling the best. It's what you know the easiest and what you've shown signs of success in the past, but it also fell out of flavor for a reason. And so maybe, you know, not put all your eggs in the global basket. Yeah,
we would hope to see continued quick decision-making, even further, even faster with those globals.
Is it even stronger?
Playing a global game like Fnatic, when Fnatic plays their global game, right?
Yeah, Fnatic's global game was really, you know, kind of the rise of them internationally. At BlizzCon was when they were known as the global team. They haven't pulled away from it completely. But at that moment in time, they were so, you know, focused into that too that a lot of teams were able to dismantle it. There's only so many in the game, and I hate to break it to them, I don't know how many more there can be. Just flat out with all the changes to mounts coming into play, like globals are near their cap currently.
Akaface has even gone once again into the Ghost Wolf with Wolf Run as well as Pharaoh Heart. So he's even trying to be more of a global hero, at least increase his mobility, getting the increased speed with Wolf Run at level 1. Dog is going to stalk in. K1 Pro is right for the picking. But he'll barrel charge out, or barrel roll out and be just fine. And now it's Homicidal who is in danger. He burrows just long enough to get a little bit of extra healing. Michael Yo's going to dive underneath, and he gets the kill. First blood.
I was going to, you know, at least give credit to the fact that Homicidal saved his W there. So you notice when he burrowed, a lesser player would immediately drop the W and look to be able to try and get some damage onto K1 Pro. You saw the hesitancy, he backed out, and then Anubarak moved in for that burrow charge, was able to get the lockdown and the body block, but he had his W, which when that is active, you can move through units. So if he had used that on K1 Pro, I mean, he died in the end, but it's still small things that even in Death is doing to try and better themselves. Nice trade when it comes to the forts here. Again, you know, even in Death showing that they can cut their losses up on top and be like, well, if they're going to siege, we'll just take out on mid.
Well, now Gale Force is heading to their boss. And even in Death, realize that no one has shown up back into the lane, into the mid to clear that out. So they will make sure to get their own too. They've got Greymane. He is very fast at being able to siege down, especially once he's in that Worgen form. It has the 40% increased damage. All of Gale Force eSports will take their boss, which is going to be a trade on bosses. But because of where Gale Force took down a fort, that'll be pushing in on toward the keep.
Looks like the members of Gale Force have aided up on top to be able to push with this. Wait, are they really going to do this? I'm so excited.
Yeah, there's a fort still remaining
I know,
to defend the boss.
But this is something, this is a part of that list of things when talking about North America pushing aggression that I wanted to see more. Even if they don't cycle that, get something somewhere.
They're going to get a kill on Homicidal. If he's not careful, can get away. There's so many members of gForce eSports here, and there's no adaptation available yet for Even in Death, so they will once again lose Homicidal. They clear out the boss at the keep towers. Bottom boss still pushing toward the fort.
And with this downtime, gForce looks to be able to force onto this mid fort. They won't be able to pick it up. Nice shielding, nice root as well. Friend or foe is going to be dropped by Mike Udall, and they're out. So I do want to talk about a little bit of, you could see the mentality here. gForce is trying to get that aggression I was referring to before. And though they didn't push up with it, they cycled through mid, looked to get that kill. And that was one of those cases of kill efficiency. When we talk about at what point is the kill worth it and how many seconds allotted to it, when death timers are this short, and especially into like a Dahaka, for instance, almost gForce pushing would have been a little bit more beneficial. I still love that we still see they are at least looking for something to gain, and they were able to do that. But now it's kind of trimming the fat around those decision making, and timing over your kills like onto the Dahaka is crucial.
K1 Pro uses his Gust to make sure that he's not ganked from Even in Death while the rest of his team pick up the tribute. And with their heroic abilities, go right back to the boss lane to take out the towers, knowing that they have heroic abilities ahead of their opponents for a few more seconds. And Even in Death can't really do anything about this. They can get set up. They have people in lane to soak in the bottom. They're just now backing, and gForce eSports will just get the Giants and go push elsewhere.
They're backing out to be able to pick up the Giants. They'll have the Giants up on the bottom half of the map too. That's going to keep the members of Even in Death stuck on the top half for a small time period.
They are setting up perfectly to make sure that they can get the next tribute and get the curse.
Look at these rotations.
Oh, except
though.
they wouldn't, because it's Even in Death who has to.
No Tomorrow is gForce is looking very No Tomorrow-esque with these transitions, which is funny because we attribute that to No Tomorrow to Equinox, and gForce eSports, in fact, is the team, you know, running that still here. So maybe whether Equinox was the original or, in fact, was the learner of this style of play, both are displaying it here, and it's very difficult for Even in Death to be able to deal with. The map is just painted red, so much pressure. This tribute really is going to be a moment where they can't fail.
It's really cool to see gForce eSports play against globals on the other side, because they know exactly where the other global would be, and that's multiple times awarded them a couple of kills on Homicidal. They nearly took him out another time, but Even in Death this time have heroic abilities, and they're in position to defend this tribute and get a curse of their own. Cursed Bullet went out, did some damage to a new Barak. The zoning is fantastic from Even in Death.
One thing we should know is that they did go into the isolation there for, even though with a Malfurion. That is a lot of confidence here.
Oh. They're going to have the double cap. They will get it. Look how much the lanes have been pushed up because gForce eSports stalled out for so long.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be able to make much happen, but Even in Death is doing the right thing here. They go immediately to the keep, the closest thing, and try and draw the aggro of gForce eSports members. Avatar doing his best with those Giants on bottom. Bottom is essentially going to be nullified completely. It gets no value with this curse. The curse bullet comes out though, and K1 Pro falls down. This is really good. Even in Death now moves up to the keep.
Yeah, they have been very patient through all of the aggression of gForce eSports. Twilight Dream hits as soon as Illidan hunts in. We've got the root now too. Archon's dropped. The damage is here. The keep is falling. Even in Death have had to deal with a lot of pressure from gForce eSports, but in the end, they'll be the one to take down the first keep.
Yeah, 8 minutes into the game on top of it. How is going to drop though, and the members of gForce are going to really clean up here. Fan doing his best with Mike Udall, just chasing in hot pursuit between the Illidan's. Battery slowing things down, but he's just slowing them down. They are still going to have the same result, especially with K1 Pro getting the flight and gust.
There's Dahaka back at the base. Frozen X is going to delay this just as long as he can, but it's delaying the inevitable. He will go down. Homicidal.
Don't go near a shrub, Fan. He lives. Boss going to be started for gForce eSports. Fan made it back home to the mid fort. Things are back to normal for GFE. They still have the tribute advantage, but they are down to keep their up onto the top half of the map. And that is a win condition that Even in Death now has a resource that no matter what happens, as long as the fight is on the top half of the map and it's anywhere near gForce's side, they could end a game. End the game, I guess. You know, a game. This one is probably the one more important to, you know, win, the one at hand.
Even in Death are going to be able to get their boss in time, just in time before gForce eSports swoops in to steal it. Now they have to go back for the defense. There is a fort, but it's low for gForce in the bottom lane. So they're just going to clear out that boss so they can get things back in running the way they envisioned for Cursed Hollow, where they had every single lane pushing in, and Abathur would be able to get a lot done during the time when gForce eSports were fighting over tributes.
So once this is cleaned up and the 15 window is there, the tribute needs to spawn before 16 is hit on the side of GFB. And realistically, I mean, is that going to happen? I don't honestly think so. gForce with the double global and the Abathur, worst case, they just stall it out enough. I mean, it is just... Now, even in death, that puts them in a position to where they're not only down 2 levels, they're down to 16. So if that's not the fight they have a chance to win, we got to look to the next one. That is, what, 18, 19 into the curse point on the side of gForce. Hey, it's better than the one they got now. I think that's the one I would like to see them aim for.
Yeah, thankfully, it's not a curse for gForce on the side of even in death. They're able to give up if they need to. Tribute in order just to make sure that they can get 16 and take the fight that they would like. gForce sending back Illidan, but importantly, they're starting to get mercenary camps up and pushing, and they're trying to get in a place where they can safely soak wherever possible.
It's actually a weird moment where I feel like it's in gForce's best interest to stop pushing the map. Keeping it on their side as much as possible can be so just like intimidating in terms of kill potential on specific angles, like because then everybody on even in death's afraid to move out and look for the soak.
Yeah, not send experience toward even in death easily.
So this is the 16 window. They have to forfeit the objective. This is exactly what we're talking about. But they catch Mike, that would be huge. That's going to be Q used. Friend or foe about 3 seconds out. Curse bullet dropped. How though?
No, How got separated away from the team. Now Homicidal is brush talking in along with the rest, gets hit by Cocoon. Michael Udall slowing down Battery, Lutano, and Frozen X from the escape. Homicidal is going to pop out of Cocoon, and not too friendly faces as he wakes up from that hibernation. Dahaka's taken out, starting the stagger deaths for even in death. gForce eSports gets a tribute to put them on curse point.
My question is how come when Cocoon drops, why don't we ever have like a butterfly animation on top of the hero when they come out? Can you imagine if it's like, I'm a brand new butterfly?
Because
like,
generally it's not happy when you're popping out of there.
Here's the real question. How come Caterpillar's name doesn't change after he goes into a cocoon?
Oh, because he's the one cocooning.
But yeah, most of the time, he is the one who cocoons. But in a case where it doesn't, I feel like afterwards, you know, it might be the butterfly.
Butterfly effect.
It's something we got to be looking into here at HGC. gForce, though, they've got a bit of problems up on top, giants and catapults, but it's early on. Catapults don't necessarily scale that hard quite yet, but they're getting to the point where, you know, they can at least maybe remove some of the shielding if nobody's paying attention.
Just now checking out Tazadar's build, kind of an old school build to have build into Oracle. It's got mental acuity for the cooldown reduction of Oracle, and then of course, having your basic abilities cool down 50% faster with the Dune's Wisdom. I wonder then if we're going to have Focus Beam at level 16, or if it'll be something still more like Psionic Echo, something more focused on Psystorm.
This is going to be probably a dead keep here. At least the Tribute is available for even in death to be able to pick up. The stall is going to be real. That's going to force the hunt onto the target who actually gets the channel. So Battery's going to transition down to bottom as fast as possible. Falsehead's looking to get the flight. And now Homicidal has to delay. He should be able to long enough. Yeah, he will be able to long enough, 100%. Look at Illidan actually backing out. They want to keep over the Tribute. That is definitely a worth call. In the world of shot calling, gForce is really nailing it over the last 2 decisions they made. Not only that they pushed it, but then when they realized the Tribute spawned, they didn't overcommit to the Tribute, but they didn't overcommit to the keep either. They were like, we can assume our opponents are going to react because they know it's curse point. So what can we do when they do that? And they find the keep up on top. That was very clean.
The shot calling has been really fun from both of the teams, like even in death, having all the waves pushed away. Great job by gForce to ensure that so that the curse did less. But even in death, bypassing the wave and just taking out the keep, though they did lose a lot of members that ended up putting them back behind in experience, was what they needed to do. And why I like it is because it's been such an escalated position from early on because of all the structures that everybody took out, that everybody's kind of in this weird, we need to make sure that we're keeping up in structures limbo. And even in Death have done that. They are behind in experience, though, catastrophically so. They must get some sort of fight, and they understand that. So they're going up. They're going to try to force a fight at the boss of gForce eSports.
Well, when it comes to boss.
Yeah, this is also where no keep is from either side.
Gust is a thing on the side of gForce. When it comes to boss control, even in Death just doesn't have the tools. Fan, he popped that so very early, though. That clone being down, even in Death has a chance.
The Hunt, though, takes out Tassadar. Cocoon still holding down. How pops out, has the Twilight Dream that hits a lot. King Caffeine gets Ancestral Healing, and Akaface keeps him alive. Even in Death, they're still trying to make this fight work, but Lutano is crazy low in health and has to back. And
now, the members of gForce eSports, they have pressure on all 3 lanes right now. If they just buy any amount of time, they're going to be very, very proud of themselves. They were unable to do so, though, thanks to the convenient zoning of How and Battery. And look at those, Giants on bottom, Knights up on mid, and the members of Even in Death are afraid to go back to that because the catapults are storing up on top. They are so worried about this boss. Again, gForce is beautifully shot calling, not forcing it to start. They know what their opponent needs to do, and they just wait for them to show up, dabble and mix in a little bit, be like, hey, we're here. We know that you want this, and then they wait for them to force. Now it's too little too late. Bottom keeps been pressured out. Catapults, again, building up on top. They're going to have 3 on the core in a couple of moments.
Yeah, and look at the other lanes, too. The mercenary pressure is so severe for gForce eSports in every other lane. Dahaka staying there, and once someone shows to defend that, then gForce eSports can force a fight. Fan has his ultimate evolution back. He's getting in toward the back, checking in on Even in Death. Burrow charging away. Looks like or barrel rolling away. gForce is starting their boss. They've got Gust up still. Even in Death backing off. And this might just be game point.
That is game. That was beautiful. I know I said that as long as they delay this tribute, they aren't going to. Okay, they're going to go to end. And that's, I'm asking for the cherry on top here, but like take the trib and then get the cycle over, and then ideally you take the tribute, Falstead flies on out, and then proceeds to go ahead and gust everybody away from the core. You fight them away, and you win the game on top of the boss. That was like the end game. Oh my gosh, how do you lose this game, gForce eSports? But other than that, it's been very, very clean so far. The boss are going to move in, but the curse is here for Even in Death, thanks to Dahaka picking that up for them.
Now that'll help with the other lanes too, if they could just defend versus this and also make sure that their minions are able to do damage to the boss as well. Cocoon is out. Tassadar is going to go back in. They've got Twilight Dream to try to make sure that all the members of Even in Death can get back. But Illidan is already on top of the core, and he is so good at taking that core down with a gust of all of Even in Death away from the core of the boss. And gForce eSports wailing away at it. gForce will take game 2.
Game 2 here over to gForce, but in a very different manner. A lot more assertive of the rotations and commanding there from Even in Death. And that, now, using the report card metaphor we had before, they aren't grounded.
Dad is very happy with you. Dad so Dread is so happy with you, gForce eSports. A+ for your efforts.
You passed. No, that was a lot better. And I think even you guys at home can probably see the difference between it. It's just one is constantly always doing something. You're never going, what are we doing right now? You're always like, hey, we can get this, and we can get this. And, I know sometimes I push it a little bit far. For instance, the tribute delay, like that is I'm just saying, imagine the world where that happens. You get the 1v1, eventually you get in a position where Falstaff flies over, and then you're just like, that was the grossest play I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm pushing it far. gForce did almost absolutely everything they could have in that match, and that's what I wanted to see from them. So I'm very happy with that game for them.
They played phenomenally with their globals, and that's the kind of plays that we would love to see and that you have the opportunity to make when you have those kind of global heroes. But Even in Death aren't out of it yet. They have one last chance to try to take a game off of gForce and continue the series after this break.